I frailed at the surface of the water, swallowed and choked. I frailed. Frailed means hit. So I hit at the water so that I would come out. But what happened? Swallowed and choked. But I swallowed water and choked my throat. He was unable to breathe. I tried to bring my legs up. The author trying his very best. I tried to bring my legs up, but they hung as dead weight. But the legs behaved like dead objects, paralyzed and rigid. Paralyzed, unable to move, and rigid means fixed, even can't bend. The legs were behaving like dead objects. A great force was pulling me under, and he felt like there was an unseen force which was pulling him under and under. I screamed, but only the water heard me. The author screamed inside the water, but nobody can hear. But the water came. I had started on the long journey back to the bottom of the pool. Once again, I started moving towards the bottom of the pool, and that 9 feet deep looked like 90 feet deep. He was going down and down. I struck at the water as I went down, but finally he struck at the water as he went down, and when struck at the water, expending my strength, expending means spending all his strength, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights, as in a nightmare fight, in a bad dream. What happened? We try against that unseen force, irresistible force, but we have no control over it. And in that manner, the author, expending my strength as one in a nightmare fights an irresistible force, that was the irresistible force that cannot be faced. I had lost all my breath, and that particular time he lost all his breath, unable to breathe. My lungs ached. Now he got pain in his lungs. My head throbbed. Throb means beating rapidly. He felt his head beating rapidly. I was getting dizzy, and he was getting dizzy. Dizzy means unbalanced. This time he was feeling dizzy, but I remembered the strategy, the old plan. What was the plan? I would spring from the bottom of the pool and come like a cork to the surface. So when he would reach to the bottom of the pool, he would take a big jump like a lightweight cork and come up. I would lie flat on the water. When he would reach to the top of the surface, top of the water, he would lie flat on the water, strike out with his arms. He would strike out with his arms and thresh with my legs, and he would paddle with his legs, and in that manner he would reach to the end of the pool, and then I would get to the edge of the pool and be safe, and in that manner he would be safe. I went down endlessly, but he was going down and down. There was no ending of that suffering. I went down endlessly. I opened my eyes. Nothing but water with a yellow glow. But I opened my eyes inside the water. But what I found, what the author found, was yellow dark water that one could not see through. And in that yellowish dark water, one cannot see through. And then sheer, stark terror seized me. Now sheer means clear, and stark means complete, and seized means caught hold of. So, and then sheer Stark terror seized me, and then he was going down. That terror seized him, caught hold of him. The terror that knows no understanding, and he had no understanding what kind of terror it was. Terror that knows no control, and that kind of terror he had no control over. Terror that no one can understand who has not experienced it. The person who has not experienced that terror would not understand. The author who has experienced that feeling, that suffering, so he stated that he only could understand that what kind of terror it was, and he had no control over it. I was shrieking underwater. Shrieking means crying, shout caused by terror. He was shouting under the water. He was shouting inside the water, all because of terror. I was paralyzed, as he stated earlier. His legs behaving like dead object. Now, I was paralyzed underwater. Steep. Steep means hard, rigid, fixed, not moving at all. So steep, rigid, with fear. With fear, even he cannot move his hands and legs. Totally paralyzed. He felt totally paralyzed. Even the screams in my throat were frozen. Even the screams. He was screaming, but it looked like it was frozen. No sound at all. Only my heart and the pounding in my head. Pounding means beating. So only my heart beating and the pounding in my head, the beating in my head said that I was still alive. That heart beating and the beating in his head can prove it that he was still alive. And then in the midst of the terror, midst means middle. So and then in the middle of the terror came a touch of reason, came a touch of hope. I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. So that old plan, he still remembered that old plan, that when he reached to the bottom of the surface, he would take a big jump and come out. So I must remember to jump when I hit the bottom. At last, I felt the tiles under me, but at last he touched the tiles under him. My toes reached out as if to grab him. So his toes reached to the surface, the bottom, the tile of the swimming pool, and he grabbed them, take a grip by his legs. I jumped with everything I had. So he took a big force so that he would reach to the surface of the water. I jumped with everything I had. So every energy he had, he used it. He spent his all energy to take a big jump and come out of the water. But the jump made no difference. But as he was totally tired, that made no difference. That jump made no difference. The water was still around me. The water was still around him, still over him. I looked for ropes. I searched for ropes, even ladders, that is step ladders to climb. So I looked for ropes. I found for ropes. I was searching for ropes, ladders, even water wings. But nothing but water. But I found nothing but water everywhere. A mass of yellow water held me. A mass of yellow water means a sum of yellow water held me. Stark terror took an even deeper hold on me. A stark water. Stark means complete complete terror. So a stark terror, the complete terror, took an even deeper hold on me, a big hold on him, and it was pulling him down and down, like a great charge of electricity, having great force, and in that force it was pulling him down and down. I shook and trembled with fright. He was moving. He was trembling with fear. My arms would not move. His arms looked like paralyzed. My legs would not move. Even his legs were not moving. I tried to call for help. I shouted to call for mother. But nothing happened. Nobody was there to help him out. Nobody was there to bring him out of the swimming pool. And then, strangely, there was light. I was coming out of the awful yellow water. At last, my nose was almost out too. So, slowly he was coming out of the water, coming out of the top of the water, surface of the water. And there, he saw a little light. He was coming out of that yellow water, dark yellow water. And at last, his nose came out. My nose was almost out too. His nose was out. Then I started down a third time. And then again, he started moving inside the water, going down in. So then I started down a third time. I sucked for air and got water. And when he started going down into the swimming pool, he tried to inhale. But what he inhaled? In place of air, he inhaled water. The yellowish light was going down, and then the light again. For a certain time, for a short period of time, there was some light. But again, it is dark as he was going down. Then all effort ceased. All effort ended. All effort stopped. Ceased means stopped. I relaxed. Now I felt relaxed. Why I felt relaxed? When somebody submit himself, then he felt relaxed. Even my legs felt limp like dead object. His legs were feeling like dead object. And a blackness swept over my brain. And there was blackness. There was darkness around. It wiped out fear. It wiped out fear means it swept out fear. It's cleared fear in his mind. It wiped out terror. It erased terror from his mind as he submitted himself before the fear. There was no more panic, and there was no more panic left when you submitted yourself. So there was no more panic. It was quiet and peaceful, and it was pin drop silent, really peaceful. Nothing to be afraid of. Now, when he could not do anything against the fear, he submitted himself. And when he submitted himself, there was no fear left. Nothing to be afraid of. This is nice. What is nice? To be drowsy. To be drowsy. Drowsy means sleepy. To feel sleepy. To go to sleep. No need to jump. Now he was totally exhausted. He was totally tired. So no need to jump. Too tired to jump. He was totally tired to jump. It's nice to be carried gently. Carry gently. Take smoothly. So it is really nice to be carried gently, to float along in peace. So to float, simply to float, cannot do against it. So to float along in peace. Tender arms around me. Tender arms around me. Tender means soft, kind. So soft arms around me. He felt like there were soft arms which was pulling him down. Tender arms like mothers. Now he compared that tenderness, that softness to his mother arms. Tender arms like mothers. Now I must go to sleep. Now he must go to sleep, as he couldn't do anything against the fear. I crossed to oblivion. Oblivion means forgetfulness. Now he's forgetting everything. I crossed to oblivion, and the curtain of life fell. Curtain. Now the eyelid even fell down. He was feeling sleepy. He cannot see anything. He was totally exhausted. He submitted himself. Now he felt like submitting himself totally against the fear. So I crossed the oblivion, and the curtain of life fell. The eyelid closed. The next, I remember, I was lying on my stomach beside the pool, vomiting. And the next moment, what happened? He didn't remember. He didn't remember what happened inside the pool when he submitted, when his eyes closed. But the next moment, when he opened his eyes, he found outside the swimming pool, lying on his stomach, and he was vomiting. The chap that threw me, chap means the boy, that bruiser boy. The chap that threw me in was saying, but I was only fooling. Now what that bruiser boy was telling, I was just fooling, I was just jesting, I was just joking. And same time someone said, the kid nearly died, be all right now, let's carry him to the locker room. The other boy spoke that he was about to die. Now let's carry him to the locker room. Several hours later, I walked home. After a few hours, he went to home. I was weak and trembling, and that particular time he was feeling ill. He was trembling, he was shaking, he was trembling. I shook and cried when I lay on my bed, and when he laid on the bed, he was crying. I couldn't eat that night as he was afraid of. He was feeling ill even. He couldn't eat that night. For days, a haunting fear was in my mind. The haunting fear, the fear that cannot be forgotten. That fear was in his heart. The slightest exertion upset me. Exertion means the effort, the try, the slightest try. Even he tried, that upset him all the way, making me wobbly in the knees. Wobbly, unstable, making him unstable in the knees and sick in my stomach, and he felt ill in his stomach. I never went back to the pool. I feared water. So after that incident, I never went back to the pool. I avoided it whenever I could. Whenever I could avoid it, I avoided. I didn't go to the swimming pool or nearby the water. A few years later, when I came to know the water of the Cascades, the waterfall. So whenever I heard about the waterfalls, I thought of going nearby. I thought of going to the waterfalls. I wanted to get into them. And whenever I went nearby the waterfalls, whenever I was wading means walk through. So whenever I walk nearby the waterfalls, I was wading the Titan or bumping river. These are the name of rivers. So wading or Titan or bumping river, light blow river, moving with a light blow, or bathing in warm lake. or for bathing in warm lake of the goat rocks, the terror that had seized me in the pool would come back. That terror, that fear, which got control over him in that particular time in that YMCA pool, that brought back and seized him. It would take possession of me completely. Possession means control. It would take control over him completely. My legs would become paralyzed. Icy horror would grab my heart, and that particular time I found myself paralyzed. I couldn't do anything against it. The author couldn't do anything against the fear of water. This handicap stayed with me as the years rolled by. Rolled by means passed by. The years passed by. That terror remained like a hurdle. This handicap stayed with me as the years rolled by. In canoes means small boat. Whenever he went by canoes, small boats. So in canoes on main lakes, fishing for landlocked salmon. Landlocked salmon, that salmon living in fresh water. So he went for the fishing. Bass fishing in New Hampshire, trawl fishing on the Detritus and Metolius in Oregon. So these are the fishing, bass fishing, trout fishing. Wherever he went, the fishing for salmon on the Columbia, at Bumping Lake in the Cascades. Whenever I went, the haunting fear of the water followed me. So wherever he went, that fear followed him. It ruined my fishing trip. It destroyed his fishing trips. Deprived me. Deprived means took away from the fishing trips. So deprived me of the joy of canoeing. So it took him away from canoeing, boating and swimming. Now he couldn't go for this kind of activities, adventurous activity.